Good evening and welcome to our first band concert of the year. My name is Allison Yeager and I teach bands here at Oregon High School. You'll also hear from our student teacher from quarter 2, Ms. Sarah Strong. So we're going to kick off our Soundscapes and Stories concert tonight with a piece by John Philip Sousa. And that piece has Wisconsin roots to it, so we look forward to sharing that with you tonight.
Piece is called Wisconsin Forward Forever by John Philip Sousa. Sousa crossed out the title Solid Men to the Front on his manuscript of this march and substituted the present title in 1917. It may originally have been intended to salute Wisconsin's contribution to the war effort, because in press reports it was also referred to as Wisconsin to the Front and Wisconsin at the Front. Forward apparently took precedence as a title word, because that was the Wisconsin state motto. Words to the march were written by the poet Burton Braley, a member of the University of Wisconsin's class of 1905, and the march was dedicated to the faculty, students, and alumni of the university.
Winter Milky Way by Yukiko Nishimura. An established composer and pianist from Japan, Yukiko Nishimura completed music studies in Tokyo, Miami, and Manhattan. She's written music for piano solo, orchestra, band, and chamber music, along with other instruments. The slow section at the beginning and end of this piece feature a mellow clarinet melody and a chorale-like texture. The various dynamic changes bring shaping to this music similar to the effect that the wind has in a winter sky. The fast section in the middle of this piece features a triumphant trumpet melody with a running sleigh bell and woodwind motor in the background, adding liveliness and joy to the atmosphere. How do you see Winter Milky Way throughout this piece?
Hello, my name is Kartikeya Kunduri. I play the instrument called trumpet. Today I'm going to be introducing you to a music piece called March of the Trolls. Edvard Grieg is best known for his eternal popular piano concerto in A minor, as well as more than 150 songs and 66 lyric pieces. March of the Trolls is from his lyric pieces. Opus 54. Trolls are a constant theme in Norwegian folklore and can be viewed as the equivalent of our boogeyman in many instances. Although other stories of trolls in Norway paint them as much gentler, simpler creatures. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Gavin McGee. I play trumpet for the OHS Band, and I will be reading a piece from March of the Trolls. Far to the north in Norway, where the winter storms whip the weather, beaten coasts, you will find dark forests with moonlight lakes, deep fjords surrounded by mighty snow-capped mountains, and long rivers and cold streams cascading down mountainsides. This is where you might find the irritable, short-tempered trolls coming out of their hiding places after sunset, marching to wreak havoc on unexpected Norwegian households. With Wisconsin's large Norwegian population, studying this piece was fun dive into folklore and how to embody the characteristics of the trolls through music.
Julius Vučík was a Czech composer and conductor of military bands. Sometimes known as the Bohemian Sousa, he composed over 400 pieces. His marches are still played as patriotic music in the Czech Republic. His worldwide reputation rests mainly on the Florentiner March and the piece you will hear tonight, Entry of the Gladiators, which was written while he was bandmaster for the 86th Infantry Regiment, based in Sarajevo. The title reflects his interest in Roman history. A familiar arrangement of this piece, known as Thunder and Blazes, is universally associated with the appearances of heroes and clowns under the circus big top, or daring riders in the rodeo. We are confident that most of you will recognize the melody.
Okay, so I have to admit that when I first introduced that piece to them, I did kind of throw a little like pop culture bone Then I was like, okay, who sing Madagascar, right? Da 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 circus, right? No, you don't get. Okay, come on, parents out there. Yeah, right? Okay. Yeah. So how many of you recognize that tune? Yeah, right, quite a lot. Yeah. So Julius Fuchik was a Czech composer, as Henry was telling us on the video, and that's basically one of his most famous marches. There's two that are really, really big. That one and the Florentiner, and arguably, that's probably the most famous non-American march that we know in our culture. So it was fun to learn that and share that with you. Now for something completely different. There's a big backstory to this piece, and Julia and Karina and Rachel are going to tell you about that.
On a Hymn Song of Philip Bliss, arranged by David Holsinger, is an inspirational work that has the most incredible story of tragedy and hope. Horatio G. Spafford, a Chicago layman and successful businessman, planned a European trip for his family in 1873. In November of that year, due to unexpected last-minute business developments, he had to remain in Chicago, but he sent his wife and 4 daughters on ahead as scheduled aboard the ship that he expected to follow them on in a few days. On November 22nd, the ship was struck by another English vessel, and the ship carrying his family sank in 12 minutes. Several days later, the ship's survivors finally arrived in Wales, and Mrs. Spafford sent a cable to her husband that wrote, "Saved alone." Shortly afterward, Mr. Spafford left Chicago to join his bereaved wife.
To deal with his own personal grief, Spafford wrote a descriptive poem. It is speculated that he penned the text while traveling on the sea near the area where it was thought his 4 daughters had been lost. In the poem, he spoke of when sorrows like the sea billow roll. But it is noteworthy that although he experienced so much personal tragedy and sorrow, he was still able to say with such convincing clarity that it is well with my soul.
Hymn writer Paul Philip Bliss was so impressed with the expression in Spafford's text that he shortly wrote music for it, first published in 1876. There's speculation that this was perhaps the last gospel song written by Bliss. Bliss and his wife Lucy were killed in a train wreck in Ohio that December in 1876. Most sources mention that Bliss actually escaped from the flames at first, but then was killed when he went back into the train to try and rescue his wife. Neither body was ever found. The melody and text of this composition speak of hope, promise, and peace in the face of unimaginable tragedy. We would like to sincerely dedicate this performance of this piece to all those in our Oregon community whose lives have been touched by grief and tragedy, in hope that our music may bring you solace and peace.
title of this work emerges from a dramatic coming-of-age story between two teenage lovers who are restricted from seeing each other often due to family dynamics and the political climate of the land. The desperation that Jax has to see Flynn propels him to enlist in the military with hopes that he will find her. When Jax discovers that Flynn's father is king of the opposing country, he seeks even harder to find Flynn and remove her from the war scene. They both eventually make it to safety and live happily ever after together. The composition reflects this story with corresponding sections of the music. Civil War, Forest Trek, The Castle, The Siege, Reunion, and Happily Ever After. Various musical devices are used to hint at the scene being enacted. For instance, bird and animal imitations can be heard over top the ensemble in the grueling Forest Trek section. We hope you enjoy this work.
Throughout his career, John Philip Sousa became known as Mark King for the plethora of marches that he composed, including Black Horse Troop. Not only was Sousa a prolific composer, but he also conducted the United States Marine Band from 1880 to 1892. The rhythmic motor of this 6/8 march has a lilt that suggests the galloping of horses.
The reoccurring thematic material brings catchiness to the tune, in the conjunction with the relatively diatonic and stepwise melody. In essence, this march has aspects of predictability that make it fun to perform and easy to hum along to. See if you can listen for the different themes which are woven throughout the fabric of this piece.
So the next piece we're going to be playing is called Variations on a Korean Folk Song by John Barnes Chance. So Variations on a Korean Folk Song is based upon the Korean folk song Arurang, and this is a song that is said to have over 3,600 variations and dates back over 1,000 years. The composer, John Barnes Chance, first became acquainted with this folk song while serving in Seoul, Korea, as a member of the 8th U.S. Army Band in 1958-59 during the Korean War. So, the song is based on a pentatonic, or 5-note scale, and some lyrical versions of the song actually portray it as a song of love and of heartbreak. However, during the 20th century, it was actually utilized as a resistance anthem during the Japanese occupation when patriotic songs from Korea were banned. And with Chance's set of variations, written in concert band in 1965, it begins by presenting the Arirang theme, and it proceeds to develop through 5 distinct variations. And in addition to the pentatonic melody, this piece also has a masterful compositional techniques that include canon, melodic inversion, imitation, augmentation, ostinato, and polymeter. And Chance maintains respect for the theme's Korean roots by featuring distinct percussive instruments like gong, temple blocks, cymbals, timpani, vibraphone, and the triangle. And in 1966, Variations on a Korean Folk Song was awarded the American Bandmasters Association's Oswald Composition Award, and the piece remains a standard of band repertoire today.
This is the last piece that Wind Ensemble plays alone, but it's quite extensive. It's about 8 minutes long. There's a theme, and there are 5 different variations that you're going to hear, so there will be a slight pause between some of them. Just know that you don't need to clap during those times. I'd also like to share with you a little bit of their learning during this piece. We studied the Arirang folk song of the people of Korea and how it is a unifying cultural thread across the region. Even though there's lots of different ways that it is encouraged to be played and heard and sung, which is something that one of the students mentioned that is kind of fascinating, is that it's encouraged to take this national folk song and do what you feel is best for it. So we're just gonna take a quick look at that. So Arirang is believed to be over 600 years old. Some sources say almost 1,000 years old, and there are over 3,600 variations of it across the region. The first known recording was in 1896, made in the U.S., and that recording is housed in the Library of Congress. And as Jake was telling us, the composer wrote that piece, wrote this piece in 1965, based on his stationing in Seoul, Korea during the war. And the historical context in the entire region across North and South Korea, the different variations are thought to have traveled by workers, like lumber workers and various other workers that were traveling across different parts of the region. But we also talked about how different things can create variations on a theme for a culture or a people. And one of those was war. One of those was generational factors. So Arirang has different context to it, as Jake was mentioning. Some of the younger generations see it as like an upbeat, happy sort of song, while some of the older generations that experienced hardship and perhaps went through the difficulties of the Korean War feel it in a couple of different ways. One is a theme of patriotism, because it was sort of a resistance anthem denouncing guerrilla warfare, and the other is sorrowful. So you'll hear all of those different sounds in these variations that John Barnes Chance wrote for you today. So we had a question, an essential question, which is what cultural and or historical factors might contribute to the creation of multiple variations on a folk song or theme? And that was our unifying question over the course of this unit. And I just wanted to share a few student responses quickly with you. I know the text is a little bit small, so I'll read them for you. One cultural factor that definitely contributes to the creation of multiple variations on a folk song or theme is the difference between generations. Different generations experience different things and therefore have different emotional responses to a folk song or theme. Music is heavily inspired by the events of the world and the things going on around us, and variations of a song reflect that. That's from Audrey Dyer, horn player. War and division might affect the culture of a nation, and therefore the music, because it might sprout hate, longing, or pain. which would influence the people and their songwriters by creating longing, painful songs, or maybe patriotic ones. Either way, the people will create things that pertain to the life they're living right then and now. They will write about what they're experiencing and how it affects them. They will explain via song what their life is like in the moment, which is really good and eye-opening for those who can't experience it firsthand, which is sort of like the transmission of culture in general when we think about it. That's why history is so important. That was from there as a party. I think this is very interesting. I like how everyone seems to embrace Arirang for those within the culture, and even those who don't share the same culture can learn about it and enjoy it, which is something I feel should be present in all ways of life and cultures. Its literal purpose almost seems like it is meant for your own interpretation, and I know that's what art is all about, but it seems like it's bold in that way. That's its defining purpose at a very senior tuba. The music is telling a story without actually having a written story to tell, and an arson trumpet. The last two here. A generation's trauma and or experience in life affect how they view the world, which leads to a difference in the art they create and enjoy. This causes many different variations of folk songs and their meanings to individuals, they urban and foreign. And last, division and war would most certainly heighten emotions in a country. It might also increase or decrease feelings of patriotism. Music, in this way, could take on characteristics of support and pride, or on the flip side, grief and despair. Maybe music could even act as a way of bridging a gap between parties of conflict in secret, like how Arirang could have the potential to be a unifying cultural thread through all of Korea, despite tensions between North and South. I hope that you're able to hear all of these ideas depicted in our theme and variations. Please enjoy. is a combined piece. We want to just acknowledge Sam Schmidt on trumpet with our soloist for that piece. Give it up for Sam one more time. Lots of section features in that one too. Percussion, clarinets, horns, flutes, lots of great stuff happening in there. That is one of my most favorite pieces to teach. I hope you enjoyed it. Did you enjoy that piece? Great piece. Really great piece. I'd like to just say some thank yous while our students are getting set here. Number one, I want to say thanks to my orchestra and choir colleagues, Michelle Kavish and Eric Miller, and then Jen Yancey of Vocal Music, for not only all of their endless support, but they put on a really fabulous concert that also included some of our band students as well. The Mozart Requiem that just happened last Thursday. It was a really, really incredible concert. And we as a music department really enjoyed collaborating together, so a huge thanks to them. Also, big thanks to our OSD band staff, Katie Sider, Pat Dorn, and Matthew Cornali at the middle school. Matthew's also at FES, doing 5th and 6th grade band there, and then Caitlin Brown and James Weston are 5-6 folks at RCI. So big ups to them. We also are just really have a really strong bands team in the OSD, so we're very fortunate to have those folks. Also want to thank our principal, Jim Feiner, for his endless support of the music department and the students in it, and our associate principals, as well as the faculty and staff of Oregon High School. And also the custodial staff, Brian Riddle, Daryl Larson. Brian basically is our custodian for this area, but he just is always like, what do you need? I got you. It's so incredible to be able to work in a building like this, where you know that everybody's got each other's back. It's just great. Makes my job a lot easier. And my job is already great because your kids are great. If you're interested in getting involved with our Oregon Band Advocates group, our next meeting is this upcoming Wednesday here at the high school at 5:30 in the band room. We'd love to have you. We'd love to have your voice. We've got some great things coming on the horizon. We have Solon Ensemble hosting here at Oregon this year, which, yay, you don't have to travel, parents. You don't have to go to Solon. So we'll be hosting that here at Oregon High School this year. So that's very exciting coming up too. Thank you so much to all of you for being here tonight. This is a new tradition that we've decided to, well, okay, I decided, but that we wanted to start of playing Sleigh Ride as a combined piece with all the bands on stage. So we're going to share that with you now, and we hope that you have a safe and happy holiday season. Take care, and thank you so much for coming.
Sleigh Ride is a light band and orchestral standard whose music was composed by Leroy Anderson. The composer had formed the original idea for the piece during a massive heat wave on the eastern seaboard in July 1946, and he finished the work in February 1948. The original recordings were instrumental versions, and the lyrics about riding in a sleigh and other fun wintertime activities were written by Mitchell Parrish in 1950. A selection of the artists who have recorded it include Herb Alpert, the Andrews Sisters, the Carpenters, Bing Crosby, the Boston Pops Orchestra, Ella Fitzgerald, Debbie Gibson, the Muppets, and Andy Williams.
Let's slay!